Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Monday, December 26, 2022. Today I'm going to recap the weekend's NFL Week 16 games and look ahead to tonight's Monday Night Football game. We have NBA to go over and look ahead to today. College basketball from the weekend. We have soccer as it resumes today post-World Cup. NHL Power Rankings. I have a theme to this one. News and notes and best bet. All right, we'll start with football. We'll go over the games from Week 16 and look ahead to a big one tonight. So Saturday, Bills over the Bears 35-13, Saints over the Browns 17-10, Chiefs over the Seahawks 24-10, Vikings over the Giants 27-24, Bengals over the Patriots 22-18, Panthers over the Lions 37-23, Ravens over the Falcons 17-9, Texans upset the Titans 19-14, 49ers over the Commanders 37-20, Cowboys over the Eagles 40-34, Steelers over the Raiders 13-10, Sunday, Packers over the Dolphins 26-20, Rams over the Broncos 51-14, and the Bucs over the Cardinals 19-16 in overtime. Tonight, 8:15 on ESPN, you have the Chargers and the Colts from Indianapolis. Chargers winning in. Colts, Jeff Saturday's playing for the full-time gig. Chargers are a 4-point favorite. Total is 45.5. I project 2.5 and 44 and a tenth. So for this one, it's going to be a slight lean to Indy. 1.5 point edge. I just think that this is close. The Chargers are always in close games against inferior teams, so slight lean to Indy +4, and for what it's worth, +172 for them to win outright, but I don't think they're going to win outright. All right, college football bowls from the weekend, and we have one bowl to talk about today. All right, so Friday, Independence Bowl, Houston over Louisiana 23-16. Gasparilla Bowl, Wake over Missouri 27-17. And then on Christmas Eve, we had the Hawaii Bowl, Middle Tennessee over San Diego State 25-23. One game today, 2:30 on ESPN, is the Quick Lane Bowl between New Mexico State and Bowling Green. For this game, I project from Ford Field a pick'em in 53.25. And it's Bowling Green by 3.5, total 48.5. I like the over a lot. I think there's going to be more points than you would think. Bowling Green's a really good offensive team. New Mexico State is not, but I could see them putting up some points. I just don't think Bowling Green's a good defensive team, so I think the over for this game is the right call. And I also would take New Mexico State getting the points, but that's at -120. So maybe a same-game parlay with those. All right, the NBA from the weekend, and I'll also reveal what I bet on Christmas as well. And we'll look ahead to tonight's slate. Friday, Magic over the Spurs 133-113. Sixers over the Clippers 119-114. Hawks over the Pistons 130-105. Celtics over the Timberwolves 121-109. Nets over the Bucks 118-100. Raptors over the Cavs 118-107. Bulls over the Knicks 118-117. Pacers over the Heat 111-108. Mavs over the Rockets 112-106. Pelicans over the Thunder 128-125 in overtime. Nuggets over the Blazers 120-107. Grizzlies over the Suns 125-100. Wizards over the Kings 125-111. And the Hornets over the Lakers 134-130. On Christmas, Sixers over the Knicks 119-112. This game I bet on the over that hit. Mavericks over the Lakers 124-115. I bet the under that did not hit. Celtics over the Bucks 139-118. This was a no-no. I bet the Bucks getting 5. Little did I know that Chris Middleton wasn't playing. The big surprise result of the day, Warriors over the Grizzlies 123-109 without Stephen Curry. I bet Grizzlies -7. Bad bet. And the Nuggets over the Suns 128-125 in overtime. I bet the Nuggets I hope I got it at 3. But they barely squeaked out against the Devin Booker-less Suns. in overtime, and that was my favorite bet of Christmas of the NBA slate. And now looking ahead to tonight's game, 7 o'clock on NBA TV, we have the Nets and the Cavaliers. I have Cavaliers as a 3-point home favorite, total 220.5, and it is 2 and 221.5. Very close. Do I go slight under or slight Cavaliers? I'm going to go with the slight with the Cavaliers at home. This is a big game for Cleveland. Clippers, Pistons. My line is the Clippers by 11 1/4, total 222 and 3/10, and it's 5 and 222.5. I'm laying it with the Clippers. That's easy money. Timberwolves, Heat. My line is Heat by 6 3/4, total 223 and 17/20, and it's 3 and 221.5. I'm going to lay the 3 at the Miami Heat. No Karl Towns. 8 o'clock, Rockets, Bulls from Chicago. Mine's Bulls 7.5, total 226 1/4, and it's 7.5 and 228.5. Under. Pacers, Pelicans. My line is the Pelicans by 9.5, total 230 and 7/20, and it is 6.5 and 236.5. Another under. Jazz, Spurs. My line is the Jazz by 2 1/4, total 231 and 17/20, and it's 4.5 and 235. Under. And last but not least, on NBA TV at 10 o'clock, you have the Hornets at the Trailblazers. My line is Blazers by 11, total 226 and 7/10, and it's 6 and 238.5. Under. I love a lot of unders. All right, college basketball from the weekend, not a lot to talk about, and we don't have any games today either. Today's a rare off day in the sport, and this is the last off day until after Selection Sunday in this sport. So, Friday. Princeton over Keene, 88-70. George Mason over Coppin State, 91-53. Diamond Head, you have Iona over Seattle, 83-72. Rutgers over Bucknell, 85-50. Number 18, Indiana over Kennesaw State, 69-55. Diamond Head, SMU over Utah State, 77-74. Diamond Head, Pepperdine over George Washington, 81-70. Diamond Head, Hawaii over Wazoo, 62-51. And Grambling and number 17, Wisconsin, canceled. Then yesterday on Christmas, Seattle over George Washington, 85-67 in Diamond Head. Iona over Pepperdine, 76-66 in the Diamond Head. Creighton over DePaul, 80-65. Utah State over Wazoo, 82-73 in the Diamond Head. And Hawaii over SMU, 58-57 in the Diamond Head on a buzzer beater 3 to end the game, which was pretty cool. Alrighty, now we're going to get into the English Premier League. That has resumed today. There's one game underway already. And that is Brentford and Tottenham, and they're in the 87th minute right now. Coming up at 10 o'clock, you have Fulham against Crystal Palace. So Tottenham is in 4th right now, and Crystal Palace is in 11th. So lines. So right now, Brentford's plus 850, Tottenham 6-1, drop minus 460 for what that's worth. I'd be willing to lay 6-1 with Tottenham right now. And then Crystal Palace plus 110, Fulham plus 240, draw plus 250. That's a tough one. So I will go with this one. That's a tough one. I'm going to go with the draw plus 250 between Crystal Palace and Fulham. Everton and Wolves at 10 o'clock. Everton's plus 150, Wolves 2-1, draw plus 220. Wolves is in 20th and Everton is in 17th. So let's just go with another draw at plus 220. Leicester, Newcastle. Leicester's 13th and Newcastle's in 3rd. Leicester plus 240, draw plus 250, Newcastle plus 110. I'm going to go with Newcastle plus 110. Southampton and Brighton. Brighton is in 7th, and Southampton's in all the way in 19th. Southampton's plus 260, Brighton's plus 105, draw plus 40. I'm going to go with Brighton at plus 105. 12:30 of Aston Villa and Liverpool. So Liverpool's in 6th and Aston Villa's in 12th. Liverpool minus 150, Aston Villa's 4-1 and draws 3-1. For this one, I'm going to go under 2.5 goals plus 126. And 3 o'clock, you have Arsenal and West Ham. Arsenal's in 1st, and West Ham's in 16th. Arsenal's minus 185, West Ham's 5-1, draw plus 310. For this one, I'm going to go under 2.5 goals at even money. Alrighty, now we're going to do the ELC. We will go over what's happened or what's going on. All right, Millwall over Watford 2-0. Sunderland and Blackburn are 1-1 draw in the 90th minute. At 10 o'clock coming up, you have Bristol City and West Brom. Bristol City's in 18th. And West Brom is in 16th. So what game? Bristol City, West Brom. Here we go. Bristol's 2-1, West Brom plus 135, draw plus 220. I'm going to go with West Brom at plus 135. 10 o'clock, you have Hull and Blackpool. Hull's minus 110, Blackpool's plus 290, draw plus 240. I'm going to go with Hull minus 110. Borough and Wigan. Can't find this one. Oh, Middlesbrough and Wigan. Here we go. Middlesbrough's minus 185. Wigan 5-1. Draw plus 280. I'm going to go over 2.5 goals plus 104. Preston and Huddersfield. Preston minus 115. Huddersfield plus 340. Draw plus 230. I'm going to go with Preston at minus 115. Rotherham and Stoke. Rotherham plus 230, draw plus 220, Stoke plus 120. I'm going to go with Stoke. Sheffield United and Coventry. Sheffield minus 135, Coventry plus 340, draw plus 260. We're going to go with over 2.5 goals at minus 110. 12:15, you have Cardiff and QPR. Cardiff plus 140, QPR 2-1, draw plus 220. I'm going to go with Cardiff plus 140. And then 2:45, you have Luton and Norwich City. Luton plus 160, Norwich plus 170, draw plus 220. I'm going to go with the draw at plus 220 with this one. And now we'll go English League One. we have a couple of games there. At 10 o'clock, we have Accrington and Barnsley. Accrington plus 250, Barnsley plus 110, draw plus 230. We're going to go with Barnsley plus 110. Although both teams are hot right now. Burton, Albion, and Lincoln City. Burton's plus 130, Lincoln's 2-1, and draw plus 230. We go with Burton plus 130. Cambridge and Shrewsbury. Cambridge plus 180, Shrewsbury plus 160, draw plus 210. I'm going to go with the draw. Charlton and Peterborough. Charlton plus 195, Peterborough plus 130, draw plus 250. We'll go with Peterborough at plus 130. Cheltenham and Plymouth. Plymouth plus 105, Cheltenham plus 250, draw plus 240. Go with Plymouth at plus 105 on the road. Exeter and Portsmouth. Exeter plus 155, Portsmouth plus 165, draw plus 240. Go with the draw. Fleetwood Town and Sheffield Wed. Fleetwood plus 370, Sheffield minus 145, draw plus 270. We're going to go with over 2.5 goals at minus 116. Ipswich and Oxford United. Ipswich minus 185, Oxford plus 480, draw plus 310. We're going to go with over 2.5 goals at minus 122, so a little juice there. MK Dons at Forest Green. Dons minus 130, Forest plus 340, draw plus 250. We're going to go with over 2.5 goals at minus 110. Port Vale and Morecambe. Port Vale minus 190, Morecambe plus 550, draw plus 290. We're going to go with over 2.5 goals at minus 108. And last but not least, Wycombe and Bristol Rivers. Or Bristol Rovers. Wycombe or even money, Bristol plus 270 and draw plus 250. We're going to go with Wycombe at even money. All right, now my NHL power rankings. The theme to them is most overrated and underrated players over the last decade. We're going to do this in every sport. I think tomorrow we're going to do the NFL. We're going to do Major League Baseball on Wednesday and basketball Thursday. All right, number 32 of the Columbus Blue Jackets, most overrated player over the last 10 years, I think, has been Nick Foligno. I just don't think he put up the stats to show of what Columbus fans thought he was worth. And an underrated Seth Jones. That guy just was an assassin for them, and they could regret trading him. Number 31, the Chicago Blackhawks. Most overrated player, Brandon Saad. I just thought that he was a product of Kane and Taves for all those years. And an underrated Corey Crawford. That guy has won a couple of Stanley Cups, and I think his performances were underappreciated. 30, the Anaheim Ducks. Overrated Kevin Shattenkirk. They thought they were getting a consistent points-getter defenseman. But nope. And an underrated John Gibson. I say this because before the Ducks kind of went into the tank these last several years, he was so good. Number 29, the San Jose Sharks. Overrated Erik Karlsson. Well, outside of this year, they just gave up a lot for him and really hasn't put up the potential other than this year. And underrated Timo Meier. I just think that he's so good, and he doesn't get the credit. Number 28, the Arizona Coyotes. Overrated Lawson Krause. Highly touted prospect, never has panned out. And then underrated Mike Smith. I really think when the Coyotes were contending and were in the conference finals, Smith was a big part of that. Number 27, the Philadelphia Flyers. Overrated Carter Hart. He was hyped to be the next great goalie. Underrated, I'm going to say Wayne Simmons. He was just a really good, above-average player for them before he fell off the map. 26, the Montreal Canadiens. Overrated, Jonathan Drouin. Gave up a Kel Sergachev for him. That's all you need to know. And underrated, Jeff Petrie. I just think that his play was underappreciated. Number 25 is the Ottawa Senators. Overrated, Andrew Hammond. He only had one great little run with them. And then underrated, Mark Stone. Number 24, the Nashville Predators. Overrated, Ryan Johansson. He had really one amazing year with them. Then an underrated Mike Fisher. I just think that he had some big moments when the Preds were good, like with Peter Laviolette. Number 23, the Florida Panthers. Overrated, Sergei Bobrovsky. He just really hasn't worked out as a free agent signing in my mind. And underrated, Jonathan Huberdeau, who's now on the Flames. 22, the Detroit Red Wings. Overrated, Jimmy Howard. I just thought that he was just overhyped. I know he won a Stanley Cup, but people are putting him in the same conversation as Henrik Lundqvist and Carey Price, and he was nowhere close. And underrated, Dylan Larkin. I just think that he's been a leader and has been awesome since he's been in the league. Number 21, the Vancouver Canucks. Overrated, Braden Holtby. He had a terrible year with them the year he was there. And underrated, I gotta say, Jacob Markstrom. Now it's a good question of what if they kept him instead of going with Thatcher Demko. Number 20 is the St. Louis Blues. Overrated, Braden Shen. He really only had one good year with them. And underrated, I gotta say, Jake Allen. Really solid goalie for the Blues when he was there. Number 19, the Buffalo Sabres. Overrated, Kyle Okposo. Really hasn't produced since he's been in Buffalo other than the 1 year. And underrated, I gotta say, Jack Eichel. I know it ended ugly for him there, but he really was a good player for them. He just didn't have the talent around him. And I think the fans took it out on him. Number 18, the Edmonton Oilers. Overrated, Cam Talbot. A lot of people thought he was going to be amazing for them. Nope. And underrated, gotta say, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I just think that he's overshadowed by all the stars there. Number 17, the New York Islanders. Overrated. I hate to say this, but I'm going to say Anders Lee from a production standpoint. People thought he was going to be like this franchise-changing player. He really isn't. He's a good player, but not what Islanders fans, when he first came up, lauded him to be. And then underrated, I gotta say Thomas Greiss. Really, really good goalie for them. Number 16, the Calgary Flames. Overrated, I gotta say Sean Monahan. He really only had one big year for the Flames. And underrated, I gotta say Johnny Gaudreau. He just produced every year with them before he left as a free agent. Number 15, the Seattle Kraken. Overrated, Philip Grubauer. Just hasn't produced with the Kraken since being there. And then underrated, gotta say Jared McCann. Playing over his head, I think. And really good veteran to have. Number 14, the New Jersey Devils. Overrated, I'm going to say Corey Schneider. They gave up a lot to get him. Only went to the playoffs once with him. And underrated, I got to say Adam Henrique. He was really good for them before he was traded to Anaheim. Number 13, the Winnipeg Jets. Overrated, Jacob Trouba. That one big year got him that Rangers trade. But I just don't think that he played up to potential in Winnipeg. And then underrated, I got to say Connor Hellebuck. Really good goalie. I don't think he gets enough credit. Number 12, the Minnesota Wild. Overrated, Zach Parise. Gave him that big contract. Really didn't own up to it. And underrated, I got to say Eric Stahl. He really produced in Minnesota. Number 11, the Los Angeles Kings. Overrated, I'm going to say Dustin Brown. I know he was their captain and was a long-time player for them, but he didn't really deserve... I don't want to say he really didn't deserve the captaincy, but I think that Kopitar really should have been the captain that whole time. So from a production standpoint, I think he was a little overrated. And underrated, I would say Tyler Toffoli. Really solid player for LA before he went elsewhere. Number 10, I have the Colorado Avalanche, your reigning Stanley Cup champions. Overrated, I'm going to say Semyon Varlamov. I just don't think he was a great goalie with the Avs. I think he's been better with the Islanders than he was with Colorado. And underrated, I got to say Nazem Kadri for the short time he was there. He was so good and so underappreciated, I think. Number 9, the 3-time reigning Eastern Conference champion, Tampa Bay Lightning. Overrated, I'm going to say Tyler Johnson. He really just didn't own up to that contract. And then underrated, I got to say Alex Killorn. He's a really solid player and been a big part of their run. Number 8 is the Washington Capitals. Overrated, I'm going to say TJ Oshie. He just really, to me, didn't live up to potential, or hasn't lived up to his potential. And underrated, I'm going to say John Carlson. He's just been a top-level defenseman for a while now, and I just think he goes under the radar a little bit. Number 7, the New York Rangers. Overrated, I'm going to say Mark Stahl. I know he's a long-time Ranger, but I just don't think that he was that great, especially in the later years. And then underrated, I'm going to say Matsu Garello. He was a big part of those teams that were in the conference finals and the Stanley Cup final in the middle of last decade. Number 6, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Overrated, say Connor Sheary. I just think his production was a product of Crosby and Malkin for the most part when he was there. Kind of similar to Brandon Saad with Tane and Caves in Chicago. And then underrated Phil Kessel. I think he was so good with Pittsburgh. Really, really good contributor for them when they won those back-to-back cups. Number 5, the Dallas Stars. Overrated, I'm going to say Alexander Radulov. He's really fallen off a cliff. That's why I put him in that spot. And underrated Ben Bishop. I think that Ben Bishop and his job in Dallas has been underappreciated. Number 4, the Vegas Golden Knights. Overrated William Karlsson. Really only had that one great year, which was his first Vegas season. And underrated Marc-Andre Fleury. I don't think they should have ever gotten rid of him. Number 3, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Overrated Tyson Barrie. He wasn't there very long, but to me, he just didn't live up to the hype there. And then underrated, gotta say Morgan Riley, another defenseman, ironically enough. He's such a good offensive defenseman, I don't think gets enough credit. Number 2, the Carolina Hurricanes. Overrated Jordan Stahl. I know they gave up the 9th pick in the draft for him way back when. But I just don't think he lived up to the hype after getting traded to Carolina. And underrated, I gotta say Dougie Hamilton. Ever since he's been there, or I should say ever since he was there, that team pretty much turned a corner. I know he's not there anymore, but I think that he doesn't get enough credit for what he did there. And number 1, the Boston Bruins. They're number 1 in the power rankings for a while. Overrated Jake DeBrusk. I think they're just asking a lot for him to do, but he really hasn't lived up to the hype. And underrated, I gotta say Tuukka Rask. I just think he got too much blame for their shortcomings. And this is a team sport, not an individual sport. And Tuukka was a good goalie. I think he was arguably a top 5 goalie in his era. And I think his great play at times was overshadowed by Carey Price and Henrik Lundqvist in his era. So I'm going to give it to Tuukka Rask for that. All right, now move on to news and notes for today. There's some things that we have to talk about. So Tampa Bay Bucks. Offensive lineman Josh Wells out for the season with a torn patellar tendon. Brutal for the Bucks. I know they won that game, but they're just banged up. Speaking of tackles out for the year, Bengals tackle Lyle Collins out for the year with a torn ACL and MCL. Brutal loss for Cincinnati. That's going to come back to bite him at some point. J.C. Horn, broken wrist. Season is in jeopardy after suffering broken radius bone. That's brutal for Carolina. Chandler Jones did not return against the Steelers the other night after being carted off with an elbow injury. Ryan Tannehill is a long shot to return this season after going ankle surgery. That's no surprise. I thought he was out for the year. I thought they ruled him out for the year. I guess not. Jalen Hurts can miss Week 17 due to a shoulder sprain. But Lamar Jackson could be back Week 17. Jim Harbaugh, players play when they're healthy and ready to go, as the playoff berth won't impact Jackson's status. No violations in Devontae Parker's concussion protocol, and spotters in the process of calling a medical timeout. I think there's more to that story. Jets wide receiver Coach Miles Austin suspended for a year for violating the league's gambling policy pending appeal. And this is for gambling on non-football sports, which is what's interesting about this. I thought this was somewhat surprising. Texans-Titans got delayed 1 hour due to power outages in Tennessee, which was odd. Dan Campbell gives Steve Wilkes some praise after the team ran for 321 yards. He said, "That's an effing great job." Eli Apple calls out Mac Jones on the dirty low block during the game on Saturday. He says he's done that before. Jerry Jones says that Odell Beckham Jr. is not likely joining the Cowboys. The Jets are most likely done with Zach Wilson as they lost all confidence and expected to part ways after the season. That's according to Jake Glazer, so that's not surprising. Pat's considering Bill O'Brien as a strong option to return to New England staff. Sean Payton's already assembling a new staff, and he wants Dick Fangio as his defensive coordinator. The fourth alternate Pro Bowl quarterback this year is Ravens backup Tyler Huntley, which is odd. There's a couple of New York Giants players that spent roughly an hour in a lockdown at the Mall of America on Friday night during a deadly shooting. That's brutal. The refs missed the PI in the end of the Washington Giants game. So that was obviously expected. DJ Ugalele picks Oregon State. An announcement is going to be coming in the next couple of days. Corey Crump accepts misdemeanor plea deal stemming from incident this season in the tunnel of Michigan Stadium. That was reported the other night. We're going to go to baseball. There was a trade that happened. The Toronto Blue Jays acquired Dalton Varsho from the Arizona Diamondbacks for a package including catching prospect Gabriel Moreno. And then they also sent Lourdes Gurriel to Arizona. So the Blue Jays are making some interesting moves this offseason. The Mets questions Carlos Correa's physical as they have concerns about the surgically repaired lower right leg. And the Mets remain optimistic that they'll work out a deal with Correa. Juan Soto to play in the DR League for Winter League action. The Giants make 2 signings. Michael Conforto, 2 years, $36 million, and Taylor Rogers, 3 for $33. So both Rogers brothers are in San Francisco's bullpen now, so that's pretty cool. And then we'll see about Michael Conforto. I have questions about him. I don't know if he'll be the same after not playing for over a year. The Phillies signed Craig Kimbrell, 1 year, $10 million. Good signing for Philly. Cheap signing. We'll see if that works out. The Red Sox are taking calls on Chris Sale as they're not actively shopping him, but is willing to listen. So that's really interesting. Are they blowing it up? We talked about Devin Booker leaving the game early in the first quarter due to his groin injury. Chris Middleton missed the game against the Celtics. We talked about Steph Curry out 2 more weeks and will be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So we'll see about that. Desmond Bane came back on Friday night against the Suns. Anthony Davis does not have a fracture. They hope he can ramp up after he's reevaluated in 2 weeks and he avoids surgery. So that is really good news for the Lakers. Domantas Sabonis has a right hand injury as he will undergo further testing and evaluation on the treatment options, but it's unclear how much time he'll miss. Jeff Green to miss a month as he fractured his left hand and sprained a finger in Friday night's game against the Blazers. So it's reported that Trae Young could be the next big-name star to request a trade. So we'll see about that. And meanwhile, James Harden is seriously considering returning to Houston in free agency this offseason. But Harden says that he's excited to be in Philly after Woj reported that he's considering the return to Houston. So we'll see about that. Klay Thompson fires back at the Grizzlies after the big win without Steph. You can't talk dynasty when you haven't won before. He's right. And Dylan Brooks says that the game was a circus as the refs were messing up calls and putting the wrong guys at the line. That's a loser talk. And then Randy True, who's the fiance of Chris Beard, makes a statement and says that she never intended to have him arrested and denies detail in the police report. So I think that this is still under investigation from a Texas standpoint, and we'll see what they ultimately do. All right, last but not least, my best bet of the day brought to you by FanDuel. There's a couple games I like, especially in the NBA. So, I'm going to go with, the Clipper line went up to 5.5. I do like it. I still do like it. Eat my crow if Kawhi and Paul George don't play. I'm going to lay a half unit on Clippers minus 5.5. And even without those guys, I think they can cover. No Kate on Detroit. So I'm going to lay the 5.5 with the Clippers against the Pistons tonight for best bet. All right, so that's it for the show. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything, looking into everything tomorrow. College basketball is back tomorrow, so is the NHL. And then we have news and notes and best bet too. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.